Hello everyone. In this video I will talk about how to pay the employee who passed away while working for your company. So if the employee dies and the employer owes him money, how should that be reported? Where should it be reported and what taxes are deducted? We will talk about all this in this video. So there can be three kinds of scenarios that a payroll professional can face related to the payments to be made to the deceased employee. Let's look at the scenario 1. So the paycheck that is issued right before the death, but it was never cashed. So it means that was the final paycheck that was issued before the death, but the employee never cashed it. In that scenario, what should be done? First of all, you have to cancel the original check. Then issue a new check to the beneficiary estate. All the taxes that were withheld on the original check will be reported on the W-2. So whatever was that last check, that will go into W-2 in box 1, which is the federal income tax wages, box 2, which is federal income tax withheld, box 3, that is social security wages, box 4, which is the social security taxes withheld, box 5, that is your Medicare wages, and box 6, the Medicare taxes withheld. So everything will go in a normal way. The earnings will be reported on the W-2 if you are reissuing the check that was originally given to the person before death, but the person never cashed it. Now let's look at the second scenario. The final check is issued right after the death in the year of death. So if the person died in 2019 and the check is also issued in 2019 but after his death, if that is the scenario, what should be done? So the employee has died and the employer owed last check. So he might owe the wages from the previous pay period that the employee worked and any unpaid accrued PTO that the employer will pay to the employee. In order to pay the accrued PTO, the employer must follow the state laws or the company policy. So you will pay the wages and any PTO days. You will write the check to the employee's beneficiary because you cannot write the check to the employee anymore. The person is already gone. So you will write the check to the employee's beneficiary or estate. Now, if this is the case that the person has already died but you owe him money, then in that case, you will only withhold Social Security and Medicare tax. You will not withhold the federal income tax. And the earnings will be reported on W-2. They will not be reported in box 1, which is the federal income tax wages, and the federal income tax will not be added to box 2, which is the federal income tax withheld, but they will be reported on box 3, 4, 5 and 6. Box 3 and 4 are for the Social Security wages and taxes, and box 5 and 6 are for your Medicare wages and taxes. So that whatever payment is made, they will go on W-2, but there is a second part of it also. Now whatever wages you have paid on that last check, which you pay after the death of the employee, you will also issue a 1099 miscellaneous to the beneficiary or estate and report the gross wages, whatever was the total amount on that check, in box 3, which is other income. And in order to issue the 1099 miscellaneous, you will request for the W-9 from the estate or the beneficiary to get their TIN number. Okay, so this is the case if the employee died and you owed him money and the check is issued after the death. So the wages will go on W-2, mean the employee will get W-2, and the employee will employer will also issue a 1099 miscellaneous to the beneficiary. So there will be two things from the employer. W-2 will be also issued and the 1099 will be issued. But on W-2, the federal income tax will not be withheld. Now let's talk about the example for scenario 2 to just make it a little easier for us to understand. Let's say that the employee worked from April 1 to April 15 and he was supposed to be paid on April 18, but he died on April 16. So the wages owed were $2,000 and there was also accrued vacation for the amount of $1,000. So the total amount owed to the person was $3,000. Now, before issuing this check, the final check, the year-to-date income before this final check was $10,000. Till now, he had already earned $10,000. So year-to-date income after the final check would be $13,000. Okay. So what will be reported on W-2? So if the person if this happened in 2019 and we are issuing the check in 2019, so the $10,000 that the employee earned year to date will go on box 1 because the federal income tax was withheld from that, and the federal income tax amount is $1,500, which is calculated based on the whatever tax rate the employee had. And then social security wages will be $13,000 because we will also collect social security wages, social security taxes from the $3,000, the last check. So it will go in box 3. It will be added in box 3. That's why the box 3 is $13,000. And the social security withheld on box 4 is $806, which is 6.2% of $13,000. And then the Medicare wages, box 5 is also $13,000 because the Medicare was also withheld on the last check of $3,000. So the box 6 amount will be $188.50, which is 1.45% of $13,000. Now, if there are state and local taxes, then they will also be withheld from the last check. So what will be reported on 1099 miscellaneous? It will be the $3,000 gross amount that will go in box 3, the other income on 1099 miscellaneous. Now let's look at the third scenario, that the final check is issued next year. Let's say that the person died in December of 2019, towards the end, and the payday is January to 2020. Okay, so in this case, if the person died in current year and the check is going to be issued in the next year, in that case, the employee will not be issued W-2 in the year when the paycheck is issued. Means he will get the W-2 in 2019 for all the income that was earned in 2019. But for the money that was paid to him on January to 2020, there is no need to issue a W-2. And why? Because no federal income tax, no social security, Medicare or future tax will be withheld from this check. The gross income will be reported on 1099 miscellaneous to the beneficiary or estate. So the check will be made to the beneficiary or estate. The employee will not be issued a W-2. And no taxes will be withheld. Okay. So here is a little summary for you to remember everything. So if you look at the first column is timing of the wage payment, then will the federal income tax withheld, will social security be withheld, and where will the income be reported, if you can have a look on that. So scenario 1, the wages paid prior to employee's death, check not cashed, reissued check to beneficiary or estate. Will the federal income tax withheld? Yes. Will the social and Medicare taxes withheld? Yes. And will the income be reported on W2? Yes. The wages for the pay period included in box 1 and social security wages in box 4 and the Medicare in box 6. So taxes should be reported for federal income tax, social security, and Medicare. And in this, if scenario 1 is the case, then 1099 miscellaneous is not issued because we're just replacing the check. Now if it's a second scenario, if it's a second case, then the wages are paid after the employee's death but in the same year of death. Then in that case, federal income tax will not be withheld, but the social security and Medicare taxes will be withheld, and they will be reported on W2 in box 3 and in box 5, and the taxes will be reported on box 4 and 6. And then whatever will be the final check, that we will issue the 1099 miscellaneous and report it on the box number 3, other income, for the gross amount. If it's a scenario 3, when the wages are paid after the employee's death but paid in the tax year after death, then no federal income taxes withheld, no social security and Medicare taxes withheld. Wages for the pay period including PTO payout should not be reported on W2 for the next year, which is 2020 in this case, and it should be only 1099 miscellaneous issued to the beneficiary or the estate for the gross income amount to be reported on box 3, which is the other income box. Hope this makes you understand the concept, and hope this video is helpful for you. Thank you.